Hello, innovators. I'm Todd Wyant, and welcome to Bridging the Gap, the award-winning construction podcast focused on the innovation shaping the AECO industry. For more than 6 years, we've released a new episode every week, spotlighting the leaders, technologies, and ideas driving real change across design, construction, and operations. You can find and subscribe to Bridging the Gap on all the major podcast platforms. Today, we're excited to bring this episode to you for Innovate2Build, where leaders from across the AECO industry are coming together to explore how AI, automation, and connected data are accelerating innovation and transforming the way we design, build, and operate. Today, I'm joined by Hari Sunderraj and Rachel Tuller from Autodesk for a conversation on turning vision into value, why Autodesk is investing so heavily in AI and connected construction, how those technologies are becoming real on projects today, and the critical role the channel plays in helping customers adopt and scale these innovations. You're invited to join us as we model the future of construction innovation and continue the digital transformation journey of this great industry. Let's get into it. All right, Hari, Rachel, welcome to Bridging the Gap. And before we really dive into the conversation, Hari, I'd love to start with you. Can you give the audience just kind of a quick intro on who you are and what you focus on at Autodesk? And then we'll bring in Rachel, who's a veteran guest on the podcast, making her third appearance here. But Hari, go ahead and feel free to take it away.
Awesome. Todd and the Graitec team are very happy to be here, and thank you for inviting us. I drive emerging business sales for Autodesk globally. These are solutions which are on a fast trajectory growth, namely construction, fusion, and water infrastructure, and are the sales organizations. So again, excited to be part of the show today.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited to welcome you on to Bridging the Gap. And Rachel, like I said, welcome back for the third time here.
I know, it feels like old home week here. Very excited about it. So I lead our global partner ecosystem globally, of which Graitec is one of our top partners. So excited to be here again. It's really about driving customer engagement and customer outcomes together with our partners around the world.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into it. So, Hari, from your perspective, how is Autodesk thinking about the future of the AECO industry as, you know, the digital capabilities from everything from BIM to AI has just continued to evolve very rapidly? What outcomes do you see are mattering most for customers?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We see a future where data drives all project decisions from the earliest feasibility study to design to construction execution, and finally with building operations and maintenance. Right now, that data lives in multiple systems in silos, different stakeholders managing it. And most often than not, they rely on the manual institutional knowledge to run the show. Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to connect these solutions together in every stage of the AECO workload into a single unified platform that will accelerate project timelines and keep the teams on the same page. Now, what this helps eventually is we will deliver complex project in a more efficient, more cost effective, and most importantly, in a safer manner. It also helps attract and retain a shrinking workforce, which the industry is faced with, by enabling people to focus on high task value work than getting into the weeds.
Yeah, very nice. So one of the big promises over the last several years has been this connected construction, but execution on a day-to-day can be challenging, as we all know in this industry. What, in your view, still needs to change in workflows and maybe even the culture to move from kind of the aspiration of connected construction to the reality to scale that? And then how is Autodesk helping customers move along that journey from that aspirational to repeatable success?
Yeah, it starts with changing the culture, is it not? It starts with changing the core fabric of these organizations. from moving away from legacy way of working to adoption of digital tools. And that needs a mindset shift and to be open to be leveraging these digital technologies. And it usually starts with a very strong buy-in at the CXO level who need to set the tone and drive it as a mandate across the organization. Otherwise, projects, fail. To realize the promise of this connected construction, we must also shift from an ecosystem or a point product solution, a particular solution addressing a single instance of an issue, to move to a more integrated platform where data is shared and leveraged across multiple teams. Similarly, it will also be a cultural shift as project managers and superintendents shift from using their intuition and anticipate problems to complementing their decision making using power of data insights and AI.
So lots of good nuggets there that we can break down. I love the culture aspect. It's something that we focus a lot about, is how do you create the needed culture in the space where innovation can thrive from the top down, but then also build it out from the grassroots. So it's not just one person that's over in the corner that's in charge of innovation, but it really is ingrained into the DNA. And then pairing that kind of cultural approach is huge when you're talking about that shift from the point solutions to the integrated platform. Wondering if you can kind of dive into some of that, of like how do you encourage customers to embrace that shift and not view it maybe as a threat, but as a real strong opportunity in the industry.
Yeah, and AI is such a hot topic, is it not? And you get strong reactions depending on whom you're talking to. It's divisive in nature, right? I mean, I would strongly encourage that we all need to adopt it. Uh, I strongly believe that, at least we are taking a human in the loop approach to AI, where AI will significantly enhance human capabilities and address bias and decision making that often blind us. It's also, as a first step, I would start thinking about those repetitive, low end tasks which can be automated, which should not be done by a human. And we have so many examples of those tasks in the construction industry that AI can automate. I almost see it as co-pilot. You need human in the loop. AI will make us more efficient, more smarter, and take away the mundane, repetitive tasks out of our plate, which means our creative capabilities can add a lot more value than it did in the past.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that's popping in my mind right now that's interesting when we're talking about AI, and then the integrated platform idea, is another maybe controversial word of data. And what do you do with that? Who owns it? What does that process look like? And that's a big culture shift that's happening in the industry as well, too, as we kind of start holding our data with an open hand more instead of a closed fist. How have you seen kind of that evolution starting to take shape?
Yeah, first we need to take the whole ecosystem view. Today, like I said, we solve a point problem, we build a small solution to address the problem, and there is no sharing of data. So what we would highly encourage is to look at it on an overall basis, look at a single unified platform that can bring data from multiple sources together. And we're not going to lock the ecosystem. Obviously, anything we will design will be open. The idea is to make sure that all the goodness that's created in one stage of the project gets shared with the next, so that you can really leverage the power of data and insights and the results that come out of that.
Mm. Yeah, makes sense. So you were talking a bit about the kind of how AI is embedded into those day-to-day workflows more, and kind of finding that balance between the human element and automation to drive that real value. When you're talking with leaders, what's that conversation like on how to find that balance?
Yeah, look, it's a hot topic across all CXO levels. Everybody's keen. Everybody wants to know. I mean, there's so much of buzz that's created, which to me is positive, right? Because people are paying attention. Now, the next conversation where the rubber really hits the road is, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for my organization? Where do I start? And how does that journey eventually look at? And that's where customers are leaning at partners like Autodesk and Graitec to help them in their journey to create this blueprint of how AI can play a meaningful role in their businesses. And I think we have a great opportunity in our hands. Customers are really keen to hear from us on how specifically it impacts their world.
Yeah. Nice. So you set it up perfectly to bring in Rachel. Thanks for being patient. So to bring you in on this question, Rachel, in the era of we have cloud, data, and AI are becoming just the bedrock foundational principles. What's the evolving role of partners in bringing value to customers?
So great question. Of course, I'm chomping at the bit because this is my sweet spot. This is what I love talking about. I come from this background, and so for me, it's really about seeing the power of the connection, right? If you look at other industries like healthcare, like finance, that have really gone through this transformation prior to construction and AECO, it's been an incredible journey and very enlightening for our customers. Think about healthcare, right? Information from an EMT in an ambulance automatically gets translated into the ER, which automatically gets translated into the operating room, which automatically gets translated into imaging and everything else, into post-op. Like there's that whole connected data workflow. And if you've ever been in that situation, you recognize that. We're getting there, right? We're getting there with our industries as well. And so as we move to this kind of outcome-based solution, partners play a critical role in helping customers turn those platforms into real productivity gains so that the time to resolution is faster, the time to build is faster, the time to everything is faster and more inclusive. And as Hari said earlier, it's all about making things safe as well. So you've got the thousands of petabytes of data really being researched to know what works, what doesn't work, and connecting all of that helps us learn lessons from days past and carry those forward into our future journeys. Um, our partners really act as those translators, right? Taking the data into insights, right, and helping customers figure out where they can use those in their workflows and their solutions. And they're actually owning the outcomes as well with the customers and with the vendors themselves. So they're really vested in what is that outcome, what does that look like on the other end, not just the transaction of implementing software. Implementing is almost the easy part these days, right? And I'm not going to say it's easy because there's a lot of work around that, especially if you're doing migrations and things like that. But the real value comes in getting all of the insights out of that data, and that takes a little bit of magic where our partners can step in.
What I'm hearing there is when we talk about the culture piece there too, that's where the partners come into place, is to help kind of guide in that change management and that culture shift that needs to take place and come alongside and really walk hand in hand with customers.
Absolutely. A lot of our partners outside of technology solutions are also offering change management training and, helping from the C-suite down to the actual users really navigate how this all works moving forward. And those types of services are invaluable to the customers.
Yeah. So kind of double clicking that a bit more. How is Autodesk guiding partners to create that differentiated value in the solution design, the implementation, or even the customer success in the age of AI and connected data that we are in?
Yeah. Well, first of all, by opening up the platform, right? By making it possible in an open infrastructure where people can write APIs, they can trade technology on marketplaces and leverage those AI capabilities. So many partners differentiate themselves, Graitec being one of them, by their own custom IP that they build. Maybe you've developed a solution for one customer, around a migration of sorts. Well, other customers are going to need that same thing. So you can take that and leverage that moving forward, take those lessons learned and create a whole service and program around the life cycle of the workflows themselves.
Mm. Yeah. So, Hari, customers, they want innovation, but they also want the predictability and the kind of the reliability. How's Autodesk thinking about when they go and they introduce a new capability, but how do they do that in a way that fits really naturally into the existing workflows so that it avoids as much disruption as possible.
This is an important aspect for our customers, is it not? What we really value flexibility and customization of our tools, right? So that our customers can look at customizing their workflows to how they do businesses and how they have set up their systems. Now, that's where I think, our partners play such a crucial role of translating our tech stack and customizing it in ways that our customers can get meaningful outcome from our tools, right? Uh, and also, there are key signals that indicate our customer and partner ecosystem are successfully progressing towards this connected, automated operations. And the interesting part to see now is, how do you measure this success, right? Ultimately, you measure success when customers start using this in their daily lives and they get the maximum value out of it. And that is where partners like Graitec play such a key role in translating a great set of product and tools and a platform into meaningful ways that our customers can leverage it.
Yeah. So Rachel, let's look at the differentiation between partners today. From your vantage point, what separates partners who are scaling successfully from those who maybe are struggling to articulate that value beyond the technology portion of it?
Good question. I think, gone are the days of selling speeds and feeds, right? Like we're not just selling bits and bytes and technology for the sake of technology. We're actually selling true business outcomes. And partners who focus on that, who start with the why, I think that's really something that's critical and a real skill, right? To be able to sit down and truly understand a customer's business. Some of our better partners, they're like Graitec, you guys are hiring people from the industry, right? People who have been engineers, who are, working in that business so they can speak the speak and really understand what customers are trying to achieve. Those that go deep, right? I think we're starting to see a lot more specialization, whether it's around a certain industry, whether a certain set of workflows. Those partners that really go deep, not just in the technology, but in the outcomes, are the ones that are kind of succeeding. And AI has been around for a while. I don't know if you guys know, but Autodesk has had AI since before it was cool. And we've been embedding that into our products, and so it's the partners that are able to take that, see it, and actually make it real and operationalize it. It's not just a buzzword that they're saying, oh, we sell AI. Like, you can't have AI without data. You can't have the connected data without the cloud. It's all intertwined. And being able to take all of that and turn it into a cohesive story for the customers that they can understand and that resonate with them, I think those are the partners that are going to be super successful moving forward.
So I love that you start with the why and having that kind of industry knowledge. I think another critical component of that is to just have a natural curiosity for the customer and for their pain points and what's going on in their world today. It's one of the things I love about the podcast, is that I get to come and ask questions and learn from different stories and see the commonalities between very different personas that on the surface are like, no, we are not the same. And then you're like, well, actually, your problems are really, really quite very similar. You just maybe use different words.
Everybody's unique.
That's right. That's right. So I think it's really important to have that curiosity of, just tell me about what's going on, and let's connect those dots of what's happening in the industry. What are the trend lines? And then there are, different unique cases in everybody's situation, but to be able to tie that all together is where kind of the magic happens.
It's true. It's true.
So when you look across customers and partners, what are the clear indicators of success that tell you a customer is truly realizing that value? They're not just using more tools, but they are starting to operate differently and seeing that measurable business impact.
Yeah, I think, along with the start with why, you've got to kind of understand, what are the goals? What are you trying to achieve? It's not just the business outcomes, but really defining those as metrics. Is it time to delivery? Is it efficiency? Is it improving quality? Once you understand what you're working towards in those measurable gains, it's about creating standard workflows and operating more consistently across teams. Even inside customers, many teams do things differently, right? So it's every team thinks they're unique, every department thinks they're unique in the way they operate, and there will be some uniqueness to that. But for the most part, standardizing workflows is where customers are going to see the most efficiency and operational excellence.
Yeah. So it brings up an interesting question, though, because when we talk about standardizing, we just did a whole conversation about prefabrication, and all around that was about the standardization, and that on the surface, people are like, "Ugh, it's going to be cookie cutter, nothing's going to be unique." But really, the standardization kind of principles of that is what allows you the freedom to have so much flexibility and that creativity. Wonder if you can speak to that in this context.
Yeah, I think the idea is that it takes the conversation more into transformation discussions, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that standardization, that baseline from which you can expand, um, why reinvent the wheel? Why not learn from others and the data that we have available to show what works, right? It helps us be more successful. It helps create those best in breed solutions. And I think being able to really focus on that mindset and say, okay, we want to scale, right? We want to be standard in some things, but we also have a lot of uniqueness to our business. And being able to marry those two efficiently and effectively is, I think, where we're going to see the most gains and the most success.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think it's so critical to look at other industries that have gone through similar transitions, see what they did well, see what they didn't do well, and then learn from their mistakes on a you know personal story here. I'm the baby of three. My mom is also the baby of three, and so growing up, she always used to say, "As the baby, you get the privilege to learn from your older siblings' mistakes, and you don't have to make the mistakes that they did." So she's like, always be mindful of, like, if you see them doing something wrong,
Yeah.
change it
Note
in
to
your
self.
own. And I think it's great advice. Moms are always, the best at giving advice. But I think that is applicable here in the industry as well too. We can learn from our, big brothers, big sisters in other industries, and see what they did well, see what they did wrong, and then pivot and adjust from that.
For sure.
So for the leaders and customers that are attending Innovate2Build, what's one mindset shift or strategic focus that you both would encourage them to adopt if they want to lead growth in this transformation that we've been talking about, not just keep up with the pace and the change?
I mean, the first encouragement should be treat cloud data and AI as foundational infrastructure. They're not the end goal; they're the beginning of the journey. So they need to be on a foundational basis. And we would also encourage to look at an ecosystem play and what outcomes you want to achieve instead of focusing on a particular problem and how can a single point product solve that issue. We all spoke about the massive leverage our customers can have by driving insights from the rich data across their company, across their ecosystem as well,
Mhm.
our customers' partners, our customers' vendors. And that can happen only when you take a platform approach. That can happen only when you start focusing on ecosystem and the role AI has to play. The LLMs have come a long way. It can comb, data of great larger scale and drive insights that our customers never had in the past. And we have an opportunity to build something unique for the future, right? And that's what we're excited about.
I think the only thing I would add to that is that, as you start to look at designing these outcomes, right? What are the solutions that are going to get you there? For me, it's about the entirety of the whole, like Hari said, the ecosystem and the platform itself. I mean, there's so much. I always say there's power in the platform, right? That's my tagline because it's so true. Think about going to buy a car. You don't go buy it for the steering wheel or buy it for the tires. Some of those things are tradable. You don't buy the individual components, you buy the solution itself. And I think that's the one thing that if you start with the end in mind, like we started at the beginning of the podcast, you really come back to what is the platform I need? What is the solution I need that's going to get me from point A to Z all together without Frankensteining a lot of different things together?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it's super important. We're also just in such a cool spot in the industry. It's funny because I've been saying this for 6 years of the podcast, but it's been true all 6 years, and I think we'll continue. That we're at such a cool intersection in construction technology right now. That the change and there's so much transformation that's happening, and it's only still just beginning. Even though you look back and you're like, how can that be? Because there's been so much change that has taken place, but we are still just beginning this transformation journey, which is exciting to kind of see it come to fruition.
It's an evolution, not a revolution.
Yeah, I like this. Very true. Very true. So as the workflows evolve with the AI and automated systems, what skills and roles do you predict kind of will be the most critical for professionals and or partners over the next 3-5 years?
Well, I'm going to start first and just say growth mindset, right? Being open.
Mm,
I think so many of us have been in our industries for such a long time. We're just so used to doing things a certain way, right? So it's about learning and evolving and keeping that growth mindset, that willingness to always learn, the willingness to evolve, right? And it doesn't have to be a revolution, right? It can just be gradual if you need to be, but remaining open to what's available and really exploration of that. I don't think everybody has to go full force into one area or the other, but as Hari mentioned earlier, start with the small things. Start with like some basic low level tasks that are low risk, right? That you want to start to automate and automate those, get some success with it, right? And then continue to move on. But I think being willing to partner, so customers being willing to partner with partners and partners being willing to partner with other partners that might have a different expertise, that creates the ecosystem of this shared wisdom. And I think as we evolve just in our society overall, this kind of crowdsourcing or you know going out to AI and saying, hey, what's the answer to this, right? Like being open to where others have gone before, I think is going to be really a key component for a lot of our partners and customers moving forward.
mm,
Yeah, I love the way Rachel laid this out for us. I mean, treat AI as your friend, as your companion. I mean, AI is not going to take away human jobs. A person who can use AI will take away jobs, right? So treat it as a companion. And like Rachel said, there are a lot of repetitive, mundane tasks which consume our energy, and that's not where our creative best is. That's not what you wake up in the morning and aspire to do because it's mundane and boring. AI can automate a lot of that right now. So there is a great opportunity.
yeah, for sure. The audience is probably sick of me saying this, but AI is my most favorite brainstorming partner, and I think that's a great way to really leverage AI is to come up with all these crazy ideas, and then it takes a human creative mind to go, okay, this is a good nugget in here. Let's take that and run with it and expand it up. And so AI is not a scary threat. It's a great partner and opportunity for sure. What excites you personally about where Autodesk, its partners, and customers are headed next in terms of, when we're talking about connect data or the predictive intelligence, AI, automation, what have you? What excites you both?
What excites me is the journey. And I think, Hari and I both come from outside of Autodesk, right? Most recently. And so we have seen other industries go through this and we've been on those rides with them. And now we get to do it again in these industries. And it's pretty exciting because we know what the outcomes are going to look like, right? We
Mm,
know what the end game is from shared industries as well. And so for me, it's about, building that ride, creating the ecosystem, leveraging partnerships, really being able to drive expertise and then working towards those joint outcomes.
Yeah, and just the fact that we are helping our customers build more sustainable infrastructure that lasts longer, make the workplace more safer for employees to work and thrive, and in general building an ecosystem where technology becomes so central, which drives efficiency and costs down, is just such an amazing place, is it not? And obviously we started our journey in design. We've now ventured into build, and the next big opportunity for all of us is, can you take all those insights into operations so that you connect all the three puzzles together? So it's an exciting opportunity for sure.
yeah, More than agree. So as we start to land the plane here, a couple of rapid fire questions coming at you. Rachel, you heard some of these before, so if you want to amend some of your answers, feel free from previous ones. But what does modeling the future, what does that phrase mean and look like to you?
Modeling the future. I just think it's really about how the influence that we have to be able to shape it. As a market leader here, we are driving and innovating, and being out front's fun, right? Like it's great to be able to see the successes and to use our creative minds to come up with the solutions that our customers need, working hand in hand with them and our partners.
Hari, what about you? What does modeling the future mean and look like to you?
Yeah, well, look, Todd, you mentioned, you've done this for 6 years and you're seeing rapid strides. I still think we're still getting started. There are still a lot of companies still relying on old ways of doing work. And, we have such a great opportunity to take everybody along, not just the big, large enterprises who are leaning into digital tech, but even the smaller ones who may not have access in the past. Obviously, the entry barrier now has dramatically changed with the revolution of AI and cloud. And I think all of us have an opportunity to, play to take everybody along in this journey.
Yeah, definitely. What does innovation mean to you both?
To me, innovation is accessing the innermost parts of myself that I am able to bring new ideas to fruition. I love brainstorming, I love whiteboarding, I love that sort of thing. So when we get to do that together with our partners and together with our customers, that's really where I get juiced up and excited about it. It's coming up with new and yet proven ways of doing things.
Love that. Nothing gets me more excited than a blank whiteboard with a bunch of sticky notes in front of us on a table, and we can just start sticking in color in a way that's gets me pretty amped up, Rachel. So I'm right there with you. Hari, what about you? What does innovation mean?
Yeah, look, Rachel said it all. It's those incremental steps that you take on a daily basis and try changing the world in a meaningful way, use technology as a fabric. It's all of that.
Nice. How do people find out more information on Autodesk and connect with either of you or your teams?
Autodesk.com. We have a great website. You can access any of us all the time. I think they start getting through Graitec to us, and that would be a great way to do that.
Nice. And that was your softball. Here's the harder question to end on. If I could give you all construction power, you could snap your fingers and innovate one thing. What would you pick to innovate?
I'd put a bubble over my house for an ice storm that's coming.
It's very timely. I like that.
That's very
Can that
topical.
bubble come to me?
Yeah, I live in LA, so it's hot and it's warm and it's beautiful
Yeah, rub
sunshine.
it in.
Not trying to rub
Yeah,
it in.
yeah,
Not,
yeah.
not trying to rub it in. But look, if I had that magic wand, it would be driving a single unified platform into our customers who are in the construction space and help them leverage the power of data and AI. It's just magical when you unleash that. It's the steps and obviously the method to that is important.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. We'll snap it and make that happen. Rachel and Hari, thank you so much for taking the time and joining the show today.
Always a pleasure, Todd. Thanks.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
And now it's time for my Todd takes from this episode. First take, culture unlocks the platform. The shift from point solution to an integrated platform isn't a technology problem. It's a culture one. Connected construction only becomes real when organizations align leadership, teams, and mindset around shared data, shared outcomes, and a willingness to evolve how decisions get made. Second take, there's real power in the platform. AI, automation, and connected data only deliver value when they work together as part of a unified platform. When data flows across design, build, and operations, teams stop reacting and start predicting, unlocking safer, faster, and more scalable outcomes powered by platforms like Autodesk. And finally, start with the why and stay curious. The most successful transformations begin by understanding real pain points, not by pushing tools. Leaders and partners who start with why stay naturally curious, and learn from other industries are the ones turning innovation into repeatable, measurable impact. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you are interested in learning more, you can visit our sponsor, Graitec Group, at graitec.com for more information. You can listen to this podcast anytime by simply going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to check out our website, bridgingthegappod.com. As always, I'm Todd Wyant, thanking you for joining the conversation to model the future on the Bridging the Gap podcast. Keep innovating.